Hello, Suckling Mike here, back with another video. I guess this channel is going to be sort of Who related, maybe, some of the posts. Anyways, I wanted to talk about the Timeless Children series, finale of Series 12, maybe even the overall arc of Series 12, what I thought about it. The Timeless Children, there's parts of Part 1 I think I talked about in the previous video. I didn't like the Cybermen stuff, and I'm still not crazy about the Cybermen being in the story. They weren't working with the Master. The Master ended up working, convincing them to work with him. If it had been a situation where they were working with him, I think the Master would have fit into the story better, and the Cybermen would have fit into the story better. I would have been happy with it if it was just one or two things happened. Either the Cybermen were just in Part 1, or the entire story was just a Dr. Master story. That being said, I love the Matrix stuff. I love the Tactayun, Shibogan things, and that the Doctor is not from Gallifrey. All that stuff's very interesting. That's stuff that, the show could play with for 30 or 40 years. If they really wanted to, which is, technically what they've done with Gallifrey to begin with. The idea, 1969 Gallifrey as opposed to 2019 or 2020 Gallifrey is completely different. Other things, I love the sequence with the Morbius heads and all the running the theme through. I thought was brilliant. I thought Jodie was amazing in this story. This is probably her best performance she had on the show. Sasha was great, but Sasha's been great from the beginning. I think he has more of a confidence in the role that he has to play than maybe Whittaker did going into The Woman Who Fell to Earth. I think it's interesting. I think people who have an understanding of the show, actors who have an understanding of the show when they take it on, like Capaldi and Tennant and Eccleston in that sense, I think they have an advantage over actors who don't and are not familiar with the show. And I think that some of them, like Smith, have are really off to the races. I think Whittaker's she's been solid. She's not done anything wrong, but she's really had to work at understanding the character and getting to where she ends up as an actress, or where she as her quality in terms of her quality of the role in The Timeless Children. She's fantastic in this, and she's really great with her intonation, the way she delivers the lines, and how she does these little side things like Tom would do or like David would do, which is so a Doctor thing. And that whole monologue she does about talking to herself again, that's brilliantly well done. And I think she really knows. I think she understands the character now. I think if Chibnall, I don't know. I'm sort of questioning Chibnall's decisions as to what he instructed her to do when she was picked for the role, like telling her not to really look at anything and that she's good enough as it is. And she's a great actress. There's nothing really wrong with her acting ability. I think there's other roles before this one. I think there's other roles that she's done where she has a much better understanding of the character before filming than she probably did with the Doctor. Hence why she's sort of had to work at her portrayal for so long. Or not so long, but really work at her portrayal and really understand her version of the character and how it's different from everybody else. I think her biggest advantage, though, is that Peter Davison from the early 80s came before her, and that really allowed her to do a lot of the subtle things that she was doing in Series 11 and even continuing here in Series 12. Other things that went on that I think the Time Lord Cyberman guys look cool. I don't like the idea. It's kind of like the Cyberman heads last week. I was sort of like that's a first idea is not the best idea thing. I'm not gonna walk over here. Anyways, so that's that. And then anything else? Well, we had the whole thing with the 1920s boy. None of that really paid off. I don't really think any of it paid off that well. It wasn't really obvious that story was over. That story feels out of place. There's just things that it still feels, even though we had the whole Shebogan thing, and there's things that are interesting, and there's so much in it. I'm gonna rewatch it tonight, and maybe, in fact, I might do a different video once I do the rewatch. Maybe there's things in it. I think there's things in it I missed because I did watch it at 2 in the morning, but it still feels like an incomplete. There's elements that aren't complete, and there's elements that don't really work well together, which is the same thing with part 1. There's elements in part 1 that I don't really think work well together. I think there should have been some kind of tie-up with the boy before the end of part 1, and I think the master should have been either in more of part 1 or just in part 2. I don't like that he's sort of the cliffhanger because, like I said last time, it's such an obvious cliffhanger. Anyway, that's kind of it for the review. In terms of anything else going on in the world of Who, I got a piece I'm gonna work on and hopefully get it out before Friday. It's gonna be a Time Lord Cyberman piece. And they did the BBC posted the BBC America channel posted like a photo which was similar to the one that was the first promotional photo with the coat having the space inside of it, and they changed the inside of the coat, which I loved, because that's what I did in an early piece, was change the inside of the coat. I changed, the design inside the coat, and I think you could do that like 100 million different ways. I didn't mind having nothing to do with the canon, just like a seasonal idea. I didn't really want it to have anything to do with the canon because I thought it was more artistic to have it be something seasonal or just something else unrelated to the show than it would be to have something related to the show. Anyway, what's in the new design is Gallifrey, which is fine because it relates to the finale. So that's all for now, I believe. Just turn off here.